Yes, the pre-show
If you people could only be here.
comments are the best. For those folks that are out there in radio land, Richard just said that being humble is what amazes him the most.
It's one of my things I'm most proud of.
Yes, one of the things that you're the most proud of.
I could become a politician.
No, you couldn't.
No.
And the reason is that you're not made out of poop.
Oh, careful.
Sorry.
Hey.
Now you don't have brown eyes, do you? See? I have brown eyes. I could be a politician.
I've heard that,
Yeah.
but I don't adhere to that. That's not.
My dad, my
was a
kind
favorite.
old dad. Yes.
One of the-
I used to say that frequently.
Yes, you were
Your eyes are brown, therefore
right up to here.
right up to there.
All right, let me calm down these Maraca players here. Hey, settle down. All right.
Man,
think
that
it's-
is a rowdy group.
I think I got him to stop.
Hey, speaking of rowdy groups,
Yeah.
welcome to Radio Science News.
Yeah.
Hey, this is July 16th, 2022. Richard is sitting to my right, your left, if you're
Yeah, well-
looking. And my name is Robert Strong and Richard Pollock.
And if you're-
Nice to see you again.
And if you're wearing
hear you
headphones, we're right in your brain right now.
Oh, good. There's a scary thought. Hey, this is episode number 847 in a series. You prime number fans out there, I'm sure that you're doing the sieve, trying to figure out. Okay, so it turns out that really quick into the sieve, it turns out that 847 is divisible by 7, and then 11, and then 11 again.
7 come 11.
Yep, 7 come 11
Papa
squared.
needs a new pair of shoes. Okay, well, that's really cool. 7, 11, 7.
Very cool. Hey,
It makes me want a Slurpee, though. I want one of those big Slurpees, the blue ones. Those are so
they're-
good.
I was watching the local news, and they told me the day afterwards that you could have gone for a free Slurpee.
Free Slurpee. Wow.
But it was the day after, which is just mean, because it was like the 50th anniversary or
Yeah.
some anniversary of the 7-Eleven or Slurpee or
Well, and unless
something.
unless we deviate too far from the science discussion here,
Oh,
you and I have
that would never happen.
you and I have often said that there should be a category in the Nobel Prizes for junk food, and I was going to think
Yes.
Slurpee would be right there.
Slurpee would be right up there.
Cheetos would be right
Cheeto,
there.
oh, Cheeto dipped Slurpees.
Oh,
now,
too
that
much.
sounds awful.
We've gone too far now. All right.
My wife looked like she was just about to puke up a rhinoceros.
Wow. Now you've really gone. All right.
It's like, whoa.
Focus on science.
Focus.
And make it go.
Make it go. Okay. So, if you would like to join us, and one of the best ways to do Radio Science News, except to sit in your hammock and sip your margaritas, is to join us online in essentially real time, even though it might be virtually real time. If you go to www.smartcenter.org, SMARTCENTER.org, you'll come to my favorite webpage on the internet. And I just,
looking at
while
this
we're there, we just finished Girls Enjoying Math and Science Camp, the GEMS Camp, July 11th and 12th. Had a fabulous time. That was a free camp, snacks, lunch, and all of the camp stuff was a donation from the Women's Giving Circle of the Community Foundation of the Ohio Valley. Our next camp is Fun with Physics Camp, and we still have room in that. This is August 8th and 9th. This is have fun with the concepts of gravity, light, electricity, and magnetism, and more. Play with toys, learn the physics behind how they work. All concepts will be explored through a variety of engaging hands-on activities, plus make and takes. All activities are grade level appropriate, fun, and safe. And Libby, what age groups is that?
That's entering 3rd through 7th.
Entering grades 3rd through 7th, and the fee for that is $60, and that includes all the lunches and snacks and,
man, that's great.
and all of that. So I just while I'm on that page, I just wanted to let folks know out there, it will be a blast. Libby and I will be there full time. It will be loads and loads of fun. So if you go just above that, the Smart Center camp lists, you'll see the little trifecta rainbows there that say Radio Science News in triplicate, and above that is the link. This is the link that takes you to what we call the launch pad of science, and I'm going to see this for the first time. Ooh, web images.
We're launching.
I'm so excited about the web images, the
Well,
WEBB.
I have a caveat, but
I do too, and I'm sure it's the exact same spiky caveat.
Oh, never
right?
mind, yeah.
Okay,
We'll
so
talk
the
about
web images, tacit
knowledge.
excuse me, tacit knowledge. I pronounce them like I see them, not like they're supposed to be.
well,
And
especially with the
there's-
silent K.
right.
Silent K always makes
Yes,
sense.
and there's a really good friend of ours.
Well, this
Ted
might even
Spickler.
this might even be about Ted a little
This
bit. We'll
could
see.
obviously be about Ted Spickler. A wonderful, wonderful guy. And so we're going to talk about tacit knowledge. And then helical heart.
Helical heart.
Okay, so, wow, that sounds like
I think it's a Tom Petty song.
I-
Everybody's got
I was
a
about to say, that
helical
sounds
heart.
like a
No.
bad country song.
This is actually kind of and it's weird, because I'm bouncing into the tacit knowledge. It's kind of an intuitive thing that you would have thought of if you stopped for a second and
Right, and just thought.
because
Sure.
we'll look at something related to this is actually about producing an artificial heart, and one of the things that they realized was important to gaining the efficiencies needed to
is probably to grow a heart like the hearts were grown.
and they
Originally, probably.
figured out that there is a helical structure to the heart.
Well, anytime you grow something from a small part to a large part,
Yeah.
you have to add on to the material that came before. And if you ever look at a seashell,
Yeah.
as a seashell grows, it's oftentimes helical.
So as maybe Ted Spickler would say, some of this is intuitive. If you
Obviously
we'll
intuitive,
get into it, but
yes.
it's very cool.
Okay.
Citizen scientist.
Oh,
this
love
is you
citizen
will,
scientists.
You will like this as a citizen scientist and
As
an
are you,
astronomer.
as are everybody listening in,
If they
even
choose
if
to.
you even if you don't know you are,
Right.
to some extent you are, yes.
And if you choose to be, this is an example of how somebody did some pretty amazing stuff by just realizing that they could and were a citizen scientist.
Good.
Biohybrid bots. This is so hard for me to say.
Okay, people are just making up words now.
Yeah, they should give it a better brand name if they try to sell these things. But this is actually very cool. You know, we spend a bit of time, knocking the robots because, well, we want to try to get ahead of them before this
they take over.
This is as a biologist and somebody who's interested in microbiology. This will probably blow your mind, Robert. This is so cool.
So these are hybrid bots,
Yes.
not microbiohybrid bots.
Well, I just didn't want to make it that long.
Okay.
I was afraid I wouldn't be able to say it on air, But no,
All right.
this is a cool story, and I don't know. The first time I remember seeing when they were talking about there will be androids, like there'll be humans. Well, in the classic getting towards android things was when they replaced the famous pitcher's tendon in his elbow with carbon fiber, and
Right.
he was able to continue his career, and to this day that bears. Anyway, I was thinking, wow, some of this stuff is weird. But when you see what they have done with
Okay.
a little bacteria, you will be very surprised.
okay.
Red Deer Cave. This is
Okay.
cool in terms of archaeology because they basically studied the genome of the hominids that lived in Red Deer Cave, which I was thinking would be in Montana. Well, it was actually in China, but it relates to the Native Americans also.
Okay. Oh, that's
Resilient food. Oh, that
Resilient
food is so chewy. Now, this has to do
Yes,
with
it just goes on and on, doesn't it?
well, this has to do with the world food supply, and there was even discussion about that even this morning as I saw President Biden talking to people in the Middle East about how we have to protect. Food security is like a huge,
It's a very
big
thing.
second only to
Wa-
fuel apparently
water.
to fuel security.
Yeah.
But the idea of having resilient food across our nation is really important. Then, Robert, this is a story. Last week we
photons.
talked a little bit about ditching the dark whole
Yes.
thing. Well, this is somebody who didn't get the memo yet, but that's
Uh-oh.
okay. What they're doing is presenting.
But that's okay.
They're presenting a whole concept of dark photons.
So these are photons that are emanated by dark matter or dark energy.
I'm just going to say that
Can we see dark photons, or can we not see them?
I can't see. I don't know. I haven't. Here's the thing. I sadly confess to not having looked yet. So
You are, as they say, in the dark.
I'm in the dark. But but a big part of this, and now to be fair, we'll look at the article. But my sense is
Wait. Being fair,
I wanna-
isn't that what science is all about?
it should be, and that's what
Yes.
that's why I was
Good.
just reiterating that.
Thank you.
That we
Very
would be.
good. Very well said.
We're going to look at the because my sense is that we're once again in one of those things where everybody has started from a point and then are trying to explain something.
Okay.
You know, just like when people would say start from a point and say why aren't more women in powerful positions, and then they would make up reasons why they're not. That kind of a thing. I'm just all right.
Make up those good
I
reasons.
digress. I digressed a little bit.
That's
Now
fine.
this next story about bonding is so cool because for
Like
those chemists out
James
there.
bonding.
No, this is not.
Oh.
You'll probably be shaken, if not stirred, by this story. But this is about guys.
That was so bad.
This is about guys like you. Who used
I wish I'd said that.
guys like you that used to play around like with scanning, tunneling microscopes, or getting down to that atomic level and trying to even
That's me.
measure.
Oh, baby.
Well, this is where these guys have said, well, maybe we can get down and we can sort of see if we can affect the bonding of the atoms within a molecule.
So
you
so they're not just trying to detect the bonds. They
No.
are trying to affect the bonds. Oh wow.
In fact, I think that's on their T-shirt. Detect, then affect. That's
The
what
bonds.
That's what it is.
007.
Okay, perovskites. I forgot. I had actually laid this aside down here in the thing to move up for last week's show. Perovskites have to do with they have a lot to do with generating electricity. They've been very important in solar energy,
Yeah.
and this is another aspect of that.
Okay.
And then the very last thing, this has a little chart to it. So you know what?
Black Beauty. Now,
Black
is
Beauty.
this the horse or
Oh, this is-
or is this the drug?
Oh, Robert, see, you wouldn't think there were. This is like you're almost like my computer. It says right here, do you want to restart and install these now or tonight? I don't.
Oh,
Two
now.
choices. Well, but see now you said is it this or that? But guess what? It's a third.
It's
thing.
a third
And I'll
thing.
tell you
Of
what. Let's
course it
click
is.
on it just to
Black
see.
Beauty. All right.
Since we're way here at the right hand
So,
side.
hey, if you are joining us on Radio Science News, if you go to the launch pad of science at
you have to follow it.
www.radiosciencenews.org, we are on Black Beauty to the far right. Click on that and you can join. So,
And it's important that you know that these links are here, and we're not just talking about stuff that we just heard about. These
no,
links are right in
these
front
are-
of our
these-
faces.
These are right here.
We can see them. So Black Beauty.
So, Black Beauty, planetary
Planetary-
scientists identify home crater of famous Martian meteorite, or Martin, some people pronounce it.
But now, I put this up because I think this qualifies
This is cool.
as a
So
chart.
this is new research shows that the Martian meteorite, Northwest Africa NWA 7034, known more commonly as Black Beauty in quotes,
Black Beauty.
was ejected between 5 and 10 million years ago from a crater in the northeast of Terra Comartia Cerium province in the southern hemisphere of Mars.
Wow, do you have to pass? That's like they've got it all laid out. And of course, I am also going to say, for people that are really hip, they would say, naming this meteor which is Black Beauty, and then calling it NWA. That wasn't a good idea.
No.
But that's only for people that are deep into the hip hop culture like
The
you and I are.
weeds, man. Yeah.
All right. So first of all, look. You slide down. That it looks like, of course. I'm thinking, wow, he had to take a slice off. I mean,
Oh, you're not going to slice Black
Well,
Beauty.
slide
out.
down,
Ew,
but
they did.
but why did they slice
Look
it?
at the little chondrites and stuff in there.
Well, but here's my thought. If you were even going to slice this thing, wouldn't you have just sliced off a basal portion?
yeah.
Instead of
not a big chunk.
because I'm looking at this really cool, amazing
I
thing.
guess it now sits on the desk flat now.
Well,
I guess that's
that
what they were doing.
could be. That's what they're showing. I was just thinking that the other part was. So this is really neat, and you look at this, you can see why this is considered a really beautiful. The part that's really amazing, and I often exhort our listeners that you have to really take some time and read through this, because when you realize they're using this supercomputer at Palsy Supercomputing Research Center and the Curtin Hive Hub for Immersive Visualization at eResearch.
I love that place.
Well, these things it's so complex and deep in the weeds. But long story short, if you read this and then scroll down to where they have the real chart, there's a chart that when they go through the distribution of the most likely sources for this,
Wow.
19 candidates and locations of the provinces and the various rovers that have been present there. It's really complex, but they basically have come to believe that they have
That they found the
yeah.
ejection site.
And then it goes into how long ago this happened. It's really a fascinating
So,
study.
so the concept that a asteroid or comet impacted Mars long ago, and some of the ejecta that
Right.
from that impact went through the Martian atmosphere and exceeded the escape velocity of the planet Mars and wandered through the solar system for some amount of time until gravity tugs from the various planets and moons caused it to come down to Earth. So they're saying that that this belongs to ejected deposits from the Kurchuk crater formed about 1.5 billion years ago, and was ejected as a result of a formation of the crater 5 to 10 million years ago. Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
Well, and then the part that that's pretty cogent here with why does this matter to us here geologists on Earth is that they feel that they go through the time frame when they think it blew off and when this thing was formed, but it contains, it says they believe it contains parts of the very, very old crust of Mars.
Right.
And that could be compared with the old crust of Earth. Again, it says that the fragments of which they consider to be 4.48 billion years old show similarities between Mars' old crust, about 4.53 billion years old, and the Earth's and today's Earth continent. So,
one of the things that meteorite folks say with vigor is, folks, this is a cheap space program.
yeah, really.
In that you can have a sample from another world sitting in your hand, and if you can figure out where it comes from, then you are essentially getting a return sample mission for free. Yeah. If you can just figure out where this thing is from, because to send a spacecraft from the Earth to Mars
to get a chunk of that crater and analyze
land,
it.
grab this thing, and somehow have the fuel to make it back into space, take it back to Earth, and land on the Earth so that scientists can have it in their hands and closely examine it, would cost billions of dollars. Yeah. And so the value of this thing per gram is probably $1 million a gram, or millions, probably several millions of dollars a gram.
A cool story.
In terms of, if you were to think about the cost to get this thing on purpose as opposed to randomly, accidentally finding it, and then doing the good science to recover where it came from. So this is fantastic.
Yeah, and
news.
if you propose that, Joe Manchin would vote against it. I can tell you that right now.
Absolutely.
All right, just slip,
without a doubt.
Just slipped one. All right, let's go back to what I think is one of the really exciting stories for various reasons. The web images, which have just been released, and I think I saw this all over the place. Everything that covers any science stories.
Now, before we go on, I haven't seen these, but I have heard from my wife that there are people in the area that think that these are all fake. Now, folks, I'm just saying, okay, they could be fake, but why would you fake these? If you would fake these, they would be better images. And right?
Well,
right? If you would fake these, they would be better images. And the reason is, if you look at these, and I love the concept of the James Webb Scope. I think this is phenomenal. This is the way that we should be going. Blah blah blah. Okay.
I even have a question for you later, but as you go ahead.
But if you look at this image,
well, I look at the
first image.
I
What
was
you
thinking this
see-
was a Christmas card with the Star of
Right.
Bethlehem on
Yeah,
it.
what it looks like is a Christmas card. And the reason is you're seeing the diffraction spikes of a common mistake of reflector telescopes.
Yeah.
A reflector telescope, it has a primary mirror. The light from the galaxies or the moon or
So it's on
satellites
its,
of a
on its
planet
way
or
to
whatever.
that mirror in the back, right?
Right. So
There.
what you should do is you should have that mirror focusing its light onto your sensor. Okay, in this case, a CCD camera. That's perfectly fine. But before they do that, so that your telescope isn't gigantic, what they've got is they've got a secondary mirror, and the secondary mirror, it hits the primary mirror, which is a parabolic surface. It's focused towards the secondary mirror. The secondary mirror redirects it into where the sensors are.
Like in
Okay?
a regular telescope, it'd be where
Sure.
the eyepiece is. You see
And
that.
if you come here to Smart Center Market, I can show you in our window, we have reflector telescopes that use what's called the Newtonian style. This is Isaac Newton came up with this. Perfectly fine if you're just looking, you don't see the diffraction spikes. Those are those little star spikes that are coming off of every bright object.
And they're all the same, you know.
And they're all the same. Those diffraction spikes are caused by what are called the legs of the spider. Okay? And the spider is nothing more than just some way to hold the secondary mirror over the primary mirror. Okay? That's all that it is. It turns out, though, that there's a way around this. If you have what's called an off-axis telescope, you don't need to put the secondary mirror in front of the primary mirror
To disturb-
held right
to disturb the
create
incoming
these disturbed images. So if somebody says, "Oh, well, these are fake," no, if they were fake, there wouldn't be the diffraction spikes.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
and to be more important, the thing, as we look at this and realize how wonderful all this is, and this is a real leap
It's
forward.
a spectacular
The one thing that
image.
is-
It just could be improved.
The
And I'm
one
not
thing
sure
that-
why they didn't do that.
Well, the one thing that is so frustrating, because you and I have actually spoken to someone who, developed and made consumer
in
usable
this area.
in the northern panhandle,
Right.
panhandle of West Virginia. And I mean, the very simple thing is the light is not. It's not having to pass through any kind of a structure that
Right.
that makes this weird imagery, and because of that, there are all kinds of other levels of why it's better in terms
Right.
of the interference issues and
Right.
all that.
And see, you don't see these spikes are not very bright. But if you're doing a long-term image, if you are collecting light from distant galaxies, and that's what the James Webb Telescope is all about. If you're going to do this for hours and hours or days and days, what's going to happen is
stack up, yeah.
these diffraction spikes, which are caused by the fact that the photons from these distant galaxies have a wave nature to them. When they hit those little spikes, those diffraction waves create these weird little spiky things.
Yeah.
And at first blush you go, well, but what kind of big deal is that? And the big deal is behind the spikes might be information that you're missing. And that's just a crying shame. With very little structural change to the James Webb telescope, this could have been eliminated.
So that's my question is,
Why didn't they do it?
well, first of all, the question of whether it would be practical,
Certainly.
because basically the precision grinding or the making of the mirrors that they did, it could have been done just with a different formula.
Right, exactly.
And the only other thing I would ask is, isn't there some way, since they do have a very definable...
Could there be a way to subtract that out?
Exactly. I'm thinking a digital subtraction of the data should be
Yep.
possible.
I know.
I'm just...
I am very aware. What I would have done, I would have put a minute rotation into the Hubble, into the James Webb scope, And what would happen is, as
You would
as
average it out.
the photons came in, the computer would say, all right, everything's rotating, but what would be slowly rotating would be the sensor, but the spikes would not be rotating, and then you'd be able to subtract them out.
Yeah.
Boom. This is not complicated.
This is why I
guys.
hope they-
I don't know. I don't understand.
Well, maybe
This-
we'll get a
This
chance
thing cost billions and billions of dollars, and they could have asked almost any amateur astronomer, how could we get rid of this? And they would have come up with
Yeah.
either that answer or maybe a
Well,
better answer.
And my frustration is oftentimes I think to myself, oh, of course they've thought of that, and then later I find out that it never occurred to them, and that's one of the things.
Oh, how could that possibly be?
Well, no, but I'm saying that's one of the things that you and I have run into looking at scientific. We go, well, they've certainly looked at this, and then later you find out that, well, no,
That
they didn't. And
Now,
so
we don't for a moment want you to think that we don't think this is one of the most spectacular astronomical images ever taken.
No, it
the
is.
problem is it could have been better and cost the taxpayer nothing.
To do it right, yeah.
Right.
I saw a lot of great discussion on it. One of the things I just caught this morning, as I was getting ready to come in to do the show, was they said something they haven't gotten to yet, but they're saying that because these are just the first images,
Sure.
and they went for some of the really
Yeah.
if you scroll through these, you're going to see some things you recognize, like the the big thing down here that you see, this used to be on all kinds of people's.
Oh, yeah.
The newborn stars in the cosmic cliffs of the Carina Nebula. I mean, these things are just they're sort of
Wow,
iconic.
these images are spectacular.
Well, they are, and then they show some of the things that are neat in this article. Is they show you the Hubble, and then the new one they have, and you. Well, the only thing I'm going to say that's weird, Robert, is that I'm scrolled down to where they're looking at the Southern Ring Nebula in the near infrared
Right.
left and mid.
Mm-hmm.
So you see some. There were some things where they actually compared some of the Hubble ones with the. At first I was like down at the bottom, the Hubble Space Telescope of 5 galaxies, the Stevens Quintet,
Mm-hmm.
and then these up here, and there are definitely sharper things and stuff, but in some
But
ways I'm
again,
going.
that spike just.
Well,
oh.
it almost looks like in some of the Hubble stuff they made a point of either eliminating the spike or they just. Anyway, that's a possibility. But the thing they said is going to be so cool is they haven't done, like one of the things they haven't done yet, because there's going to be a whole list, there's obviously
yeah.
a whole bunch of things that they're going to go through. They're talking about that one of the onboard things that it does have, it has a way to occlude, like if you're looking at a star,
Right.
like for example, when you do solar astronomy, or when they show eclipses, they will actually occlude or block out, they know exactly how
Right.
you're able. So this has onboard technology that will allow them to occlude. So here's the thing they're talking about is really exciting. When they're going to zoom into a star that has exoplanets,
Right.
they're going to be able to occlude the light from the star.
So they will put a mask over it.
Basically masking. They're going to be
Essentially.
blocking that out. But because of the kind of resolution and the power that this telescope has, they're going to be actually able to look at exoplanets as they travel by occluding that. And one of the things that they feel they'll have the capability for is to, for example, be able to analyze the light from the star
Right.
going through the atmosphere of the exoplanets and
Wow.
now make analysis of
Yeah.
the atmosphere of an
And-
exoplanet, which
and-
is like,
and,
wow.
and see if it's got nitrogen, carbon dioxide, oxygen.
Just a whole
that kind
level
thing.
of inquiry that would
Hey,
never been.
I just wanted to mention to our listeners, if you go all the way down to the last image, you've got a artist's conception and illustration of what the
Oh, yeah.
web scope looks like, and what is creating those
That really shows it, doesn't
those
it?
weird diffraction spikes are the arms holding that secondary mirror above or away from the primary mirror.
Wow, look how much of it there is.
Right? And it's huge. That's what makes those spikes so gigantic. So if you were to have redesigned this and put the receiver not in the middle but off to the
side,
edge,
to the very edge.
and then you wouldn't have the arms holding it over the middle. It would be off to the side. You would have nothing interfering with the light hitting the primary mirror and then reflecting back up to the secondary mirror and then back down through that little cone that lets the light into the array for the sensors.
Wow.
So it's a real easy engineering thing. I have been to astronomy conventions, and amateurs make these things.
Yeah.
Amateurs can make these off-axis mirror scopes.
Yeah, and even somebody who's like
the views are
hand-
spectacular because there's no diffraction spikes. Yeah. There's none of that will take and slightly blur the images. In fact, the images are pristine.
Yeah.
They're spectacular. So if you're going to go through the trouble of creating a telescope like this, you should be using the best design possible. And I don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife just said, well, has to be a reason that they did this way.
Yeah.
And I think the reason is
It's the way we've always done it.
but this is the way all telescopes are, except for if you ever go to Green Bank,
Yeah.
look at the Green Bank giant radio telescope. It's an off-axis radio telescope.
Well,
So it's not like we don't know how to do this, folks. We have the largest fully steerable radio telescope in the world in Green Bank, West Virginia. Go to Green Bank, look at that, and you'll say, wait a minute, it doesn't look like
it's not like a shaving mirror.
No, it's right. It doesn't have diffraction spikes to mess up what you're doing because it was a one-of-a-kind, spectacular, this is the best telescope ever. Just like this was advertised as the best one-of-a-kind, best telescope ever built for the infrared.
Yeah.
But they didn't use the right engineering. And I for the life of me, I can't figure out why. I would have sat down with those folks for a pizza. And a diet root beer.
Well, there you go.
And that might have just completely ruined the deal right there.
You have offered, and the only other thing I would say is,
guys,
we need to track the guy down who's doing
just wanted to say, NASA, the next time that you plan to do a space telescope
off-axis
for a pizza and a diet root beer, with ice, please. I will show you how to do this. It's all it takes: pizza and a diet root beer.
Well, and the technology that is with the computer, when they grind mirrors now, it's not a guy.
Nobody's doing this by hand. This is all computers.
You have amazing, CAD CAM, computer assisted design, and then computer assisted manufacturing for mirrors. It's almost just like when you go get a pair of glasses.
Right.
They have technology that goes, we've gotten your here. You have this issue, you have that issue, you have
and
a little bit of...
we will grind that in.
They grind it in and grind it out.
And again, I am not angry. I'm not mad. I'm just.
Sure.
I am highly perplexed why the best scientists in the world just didn't do the best job they could have.
And here's the thing.
I don't understand.
As we go to our next topic, which we'll hopefully have, I'm going to say that it's an intuitive concept that you're talking about. And you know who would be, what makes it so intuitive?
What makes it so
Everybody
intuitive?
who's ever gotten a ticket to a Pittsburgh Pirate game, right? And they find out that their ticket wasn't that expensive, and it's because they're sitting behind a pole that holds up the roof, right? They intuitively say to themselves, I could see better and get a clearer look at this if I didn't have a structure between me and my object of,
Wow.
Anyway, so
that's funny.
We had a nice little discussion with a good friend of yours and mine, and frankly the world yesterday.
It should be the world, yeah.
Well, our friend Ted Spickler, and he started. One of the things he was talking about is we've known for some time that he has been working on has a book out about. There's a whole concept of learning and teaching that's called tacit knowledge. And when he was mentioning that, I was thinking, this sounds really familiar, but I hadn't gone into it that much. As I looked through this, I realized, just intuitively, almost all the stuff they're talking about is stuff that I'm going, well, sure. Yeah, I get this, and so what I wanted to do was just put this up. It is from the website tacitknowledge.org, and then it's a section that's the authors, like various authors that have either done papers or books and things are included here. And this is some of the stuff from Ted Spickler, and there's a bunch of stuff. He's a retired former college teacher of physics and statistics, and does some cool stuff. But the stuff that he's really talking about is just really neat. The psychology of how you form knowledge or all this. And even as we read it, I know there are a bunch of things here, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'd like people to, kind of scroll through. He talks about, sort of the way babies form a personality and knowledge of their world, and cool things about feedback loops of learning. And the first thing that I hit that just resonated with me, I used to think one of the things I hated were the whole kind of educational things, and even some of this science things, where it became like the College Bowl, where it was based on how fast you came up with the answer. And there's a whole section here where he literally talks about the fact that they did all these studies, and when they basically looked at, what about that, like spit it out quick concept versus having no time frame on coming up with answers. And of course, Robert, intuitively, you probably know which one turned out better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As a former classroom educator,
There you are.
you find out very quickly the first hand up is always wrong.
Well, not always,
They have
but generally.
no clue what the answer is. You will say, okay, here's a mathematical thing, and more than likely the first person with their hand up, first of all, doesn't have an answer, or will just say like orange. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And they're like, well.
That's just what occurred to them.
And so it turns out that you wait long enough for several people to put their hands up, and I used to always call on the fifth hand that went up. The reason is that gave the whole class enough time to start thinking about it too.
Well, because and the other thing is, as I said, as I scrolled down through, I saw talking about mysteries of tacit knowledge in music. That was the first place where I thought, this makes perfect sense. The idea of, anyway, these are real. Each one of these he's a couple little paragraph comments and things, and they're really interesting. We'll probably revisit this again. And of course, it wouldn't surprise anybody to know that, like in things that you and Libby have done with the Smart Center, and as you do in your various programming, you include these concepts.
Oh, absolutely.
Of time, quiet time when people can,
You have to do that.
There's a lot of cool stuff going on here.
Don't ever ask for this speed answers.
Oh, and
speed answers are very seldom anywhere.
It's a huge part of education.
Good.
I mean,
know.
it was the whole basis of like the idea of, it's almost like everything in the world is like a version of the Gary Cooper at High Noon. Who's the quickest draw?
Yep. I know. And the reason is that if you're a elementary classroom teacher, you have multiple subjects to get through before the end of the year.
Yeah,
and
you're
any
constrained,
moment
I know,
where you're not teaching and you're waiting for kids to think, some people think is a wasted moment. And you're like, no, that's not true.
Well,
it's not a wasted moment.
No.
It's an educational moment. So you need to.
There's a lot here, and it covers.
Good for you, Ted.
And just intuitively, I think we'll come back and talk about this some more. We're going to look at the helical heart, and
I'm intrigued.
The concept of the helical heart is like so intuitive, because as they're seeking to, let's see, mine's not going. What's going on here? Helical heart, where are you?
Helical heart.
That's weird. I'm clicking on it and it's not coming up. Let me jump to another.
This is from. Mine's not coming up either.
Well, maybe there's something that.
Sometimes there's a little.
It says it's loading. All right.
Okay,
Well, let's.
here. Here we go. It says major step
There
forward
it
in
is.
fabricating an artificial heart fit
Finally.
for a human. By recreating the helical structure of heart muscles, researchers improve understanding of how the heart beats.
See, and now this is a really cool article. They got a little stock footage of looks like a kind of give you an idea of where the heart is and how
Yeah.
it's in West Virginia University colors. And no, it's not really. So it says, to build a human heart from the ground up, researchers need to replicate the unique structures that make up the heart. So it says this includes recreating helical geometries, which create a twisting motion as the heart beats. Now, as soon as I saw this, I said to myself, "Wait a minute." As I was reading this, I was thinking,
So as it twists, it's literally storing energy for the rebound.
well, and the other thing is,
Oh,
the
that's
first
brilliant.
thing, as I was doing this, I had this intuitive flash in my head about, hey, everybody remembers that say like you go to a beach or something, or you're in
Yeah.
a swimming pool and your towel gets all wet. The first thing you do is twist it up, and then to get it to push the water out.
Wring it out.
You wring it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because the helical structure,
Right.
it relates to the same thing. But the thing that's so neat about this is they're actually, they're sort of what they're doing is they're growing the heart muscles. But in order to do it, they're sort of doing it on a scaffolding that includes that structure.
Helical structure. It says here, heart disease, the leading cause of death in the U.S., is so deadly in part because the heart, unlike other organs, cannot repair itself after injury. That
Yeah,
is
now that's
why
changing, but-
tissue engineering ultimately includes the wholesale fabrication of an entire human heart for transplant.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it's so important for the future of cardiac medicine.
And this is so cool.
Okay.
It says that the human heart actually has multiple layers of helically aligned muscles with different angles of alignment.
Wow.
It says unlike 3D printing, it goes to talk about the really complicated thing that they're doing. They're actually they're spinning. They have the circumference alignment of the fibers. But the thing that's so funny, I'm looking back here in 1969, the guy who first proposed this, Edward Sallin, former chair of the Department of Biomathematics at Alabama Birmingham Medical School, argued the heart's helical alignment is critical to achieving large ejection fractions. So, again, this is really
This
cool.
is nifty.
A lot to read through, but basically what they're doing is they're looking to grow. It says the team demonstrated process can be scaled up to actual heart even larger.
Wow.
To the size of a minke whale heart. I'm thinking, wow. But they're basically looking at this whole new biofabrication thing. There are a lot of people looking
So
into.
it says, unlike 3D printing, which gets slower as features get smaller, FRJS can quickly spin fibers at the single micron scale, or about 50 times smaller than a single human hair.
Well, yeah.
This is important when it comes to building a heart from scratch. It says it would take more than 100 years to 3D print every bit of collagen in the human heart at this resolution. But this technique, the FRJS, can do it in a single day.
Wow. So they're talking about collagen, which is can be a matrix protein for these things to grow on, and people can also pump it into their lips and look weird too. I've noticed that.
I have seen it. Very scary.
But this is cool. After what they did is they spin these fibers. Is the ventricles were seeded with cardiomyocyte rat. This is for the study, or human stem cell derived from cardiomyocyte cells. Within a week, several thin layers of beating tissue cover the scaffolding, with the cells following the alignment of the fibers beneath. So, and then what they have been able to determine, it says the beating ventricles mimic the same twisting, or I didn't even see this, ringing motion present in human hearts. So this is really cool. And this is boy, what a big deal this is.
So chances are within our lifetimes,
Right.
we will see people taking your heart cells and cloning them and starting to put them on scaffold to create a new heart for you to actually replace with a functioning, real beating heart, your heart.
Well, and the other possibilities. Now, this idea of creating an entire new heart is one thing, but it's also possible that it could be
that you could repair it.
I mean, anybody who's had, I say, for example, like hernia surgeries and things where they They use a scaffolding for muscle and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you had a damaged portion of your heart, it's not inconceivable that they would go, oh, this section of your heart, is needs to be replaced, and it could be that they could literally do this in your own heart, and
Wow.
as they are now learning, they can get heart stem cells and things to actually regrow. That's one of the other big stories we've hit several times. Again, another good reason
Cool.
why be encouraged by some of these science
I am
things that
highly
are going on.
encouraged. This is really good. And my heart is in fairly good shape. But what's it going to be like in 20 years, 30
Well,
years?
there you go.
I'm glad to hear that this technology is going to be ready when I'm ready.
These things are coming along. Now, as a citizen scientist, and especially one who is interested in astronomy, I just had to put
That's
this
me.
story up for you, Robert, because this just came out last week. This guy, Frank Kiwi, interesting name, Kiwy. It says citizen scientist discovers 34 new ultra cool brown dwarfs. Now they're not just saying like, "Wow, aren't these cool?" And then somebody goes, "Oh no, man! Like, dude, these are ultra cool." They're referring to some of the temperature.
So how did he find these? It says,
Well, this is the part-
using data from the NOR lab source
Yeah.
catalog, NSCDR2. I've used the NRS DR4, but
well, you do what you can.
No,
This
citizen scientist Frank Kiwi has discovered 34 ML or T-type dwarfs co-moving with low-mass stars or white dwarfs.
So this is really cool because the
That's
part that's so
awesome.
exciting about this is it's not because he had a better telescope.
No.
than he in fact
He
had
looked
no
in the data.
telescope. Well, and that's the thing that's so important. This is part of, if you click down through here, there's a whole thing called Backyard Worlds, Planet 9 Citizen Scientist Project. I thought that was cool that they call it Planet 9. I was thinking,
Yeah,
like reminds me of a movie, but also
a bad movie.
Yeah. It says they have previously turned to a worldwide network of more than 100,000 citizen scientists who scrutinize images and then look at
Wow,
data
this
to
is
identify
awesome.
brown dwarfs against backwards. So I mean, this is really tedious work, but you have a lot of what they say, many hands make
Make light work.
they're doing all this, but he kind of, the thing is they have all these projects, but then they also have people like Frank would be, who design their own projects or decide what they're going to do. And so it says that he literally started by finding more than 2,500 potential ultra cool dwarfs, and then they went on to scrutinize. It's just really a great story, and it also lends such credence to the idea that as a citizen scientist, you can do some pretty amazing things.
I have to admit, I've never heard of the the Backyard Worlds Project 9 project.
Yeah, and I had not either.
I am highly impressed.
Well, this is really a cool thing, and I mean, I'm just glad I ran across this because, when you do star watches, and a lot of kids are interested, and they have a new telescope, and they're kind of thinking, well, yeah, but what can I do? The big thing for a while was, oh man, people who actually were able to find comets and get them named after themselves. A lot of people became comet hunters, and this is just again, it's very encouraging from the idea of being a scientist and a
Oh, I
citizen
love it.
scientist, and
This is
especially young
wonderful.
citizen scientists. All
And
right.
that you can contribute by spending your time and your expertise
Together
combing
with-
through the archives.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because there's all this information and there's just not enough graduate students.
All right, now, Robert, I don't want to scare you, but this next micro robot.
Hybrid
Oh,
bots.
yeah, whatever I wrote, I can't even believe it now. It's officially, when you click this, it's literally just came out yesterday. It was one of these quick things on. Those guys at Phys.org,
They're
love.
awesome.
They're like agile. They're quick. They throw these stories up. Look, it's got a great chart. Bacteria-based biohybrid micro robots
Well,
on
yeah.
a mission to one day battle cancer. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is a lot. But check out this little diagram. You see down here little E. coli, or
Yeah.
Escherichia coli.
There we are.
They have those guys everywhere. Now, if you look, there's a circle. So like on there, I'm going to consider that the rear end
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because you see the flagella that
Yep.
allows it to move. you're looking at what do they have here? This is like, I'm thinking this is crazy.
Magnetic nanoparticles.
So they have biotin, and these are what they use to attach to the bacterial membrane. Over here is a big nanoliposome. Okay, so that nanoliposome, at first it just looks like, well, this is colorful and all that, but it contains, as we read down through here, they're going to. First, as it can be seen, the team attached several nanoliposomes to each bacteria. On the outer side, these spherical-shaped carriers have enclosing within their little structure there. This is ICG green particles that melt when illuminated by near-infrared light. So you're thinking, wait a minute.
Oh, so you can trigger these.
So basically it's a package that you can open with infrared light.
And then you can deliver.
Now, so here's the thing. So what they're going to put inside, they're going to use chemotherapy drugs, right?
Which they are calling DOX.
Yeah, that's so now here's the part that's really cool. The second component is magnetic nanoparticles.
Right, so that you can steer them around. You can actually pull them to put them where you want them.
When exposed to the magnetic
with
field,
a magnetic
the
field.
particles serve as an on-top booster to the already highly motile
this
microorganisms.
is really cool.
So it says, in this way, it's easier to control the swimming of the bacteria.
Yeah.
This thing already has, you can see the two flagell,
Yeah.
the long
Mhm.
fibers. So this thing's got a little motor on the back.
It can move around, but then you can also steer it.
And down here it says E. coli are fast and versatile swimmers that can navigate through material ranging from liquids to highly viscous tissues. But that is not all. Also, they have highly advanced sensing capabilities, on and on. So, I mean, the long story short.
Nice diagram down here. A figure 2.
Yeah, where they're going.
Schematic showing bacterial hybrid microrobots magnetically guided through fibrous environments.
Now, see, here's what's kind of cool, because your first thing was kind of like mine, like, well, they're just using a magnet to
pull
but they're not. What they're doing is, because you can see where the magnet is here in the back, and that's the back end has the little tiny nanoparticles. That keeps the thing aimed in the right direction, and it just whips its way through.
And so as it swims, all that you have to do is just steer it.
Yeah, you're steering like a rudder. This little north-south magnet right here.
Oh, that's really cool.
That's
awesome.
Now, okay, but we're not finished, because this is cool.
These guys are brilliant. This is awesome.
So it says this on-spot delivery is minimally invasive, painless, minimal toxicity, because all the drugs. But here's the part: when it gets to the whole point is, then they can basically open the package with the light, and they deliver.
And then they shine on whatever frequency that the light is,
and it actually melts the package.
Opens up, and the little red DOXs pop out,
and they're there to treat
at the exact spot that you want it, not just diluted throughout the entire
that's really
person. So it isn't like an injection, which puts some material in you and it goes everywhere. This is literally steered to where you want it to be using a magnetic field, and the delivery system, they don't have to create the delivery system.
Yes.
The delivery system is a biological E. coli.
If you had to design some kind of a micro robot to do this, it would be insane. But it's just kind of like people saying, well, why redesign the horse if I want to pull a wagon or something?
I was thinking the exact same thing. Why? What this is a horse, and then you have a magnetic reins, essentially. And that horse can haul whatever it is that you want to wherever it is you want. Then you can...
And it just wants to go.
Then you can shine on a light, and the saddlebags open up, and what you want to deliver is delivered. Wow. And you don't have to invent the horse.
Yeah, that's what I always say. Don't try to reinvent the horse. Isn't that what they always say? No.
I think that's exactly what they always say.
Maybe the wheel that they're talking
about. Oh, the wheeled horse.
Don't read. All right. Well, let's take a quick look. I can see we're never going to make it through our topics, but let's.
That's okay.
Red Deer Cave is just really neat because, I think I was talking to you about watching some show where they've been able to come up with techniques to take very ancient materials. Like, I think the first time we were talking about this, they found out that, they had like 500,000-year-old teeth or something, and they realized that they could actually determine what the this hominid was actually eating because
Yeah.
the plaque on the teeth, because they didn't visit their dentist very
They
often.
did not, and they didn't brush or floss.
They could now take that small amount of stuff and genetically sequence and figure out everything. It was just
Wow.
this has become such a big thing. So anyway, this little the homonym from which they mentioned this because at first they were trying to decide, was this a modern or what kind of hominid was this? Red Deer Cave in southwest China, which was previously reported possessing, when they say mosaic features of modern and archaic, they were thinking that modern man and ancient, somehow this was one of those blends. It says, but basically they now have determined that it's pretty much Red Deer Cave. This particular hominin is an anatomically modern human, which exhibits genetic continuity to present-day populations and linked deeply to East Asian ancestry that also contributed to the first Americans as they crossed over into
Wow.
the
Yeah.
Americas. So this is just a really neat story. 1989 was when they actually unearthed these remains. They did carbon dating, and one of this is among the fossils was a skull cap which seemed to show that the skull resembled Neanderthals and Homo sapiens at the same time. But the thing that's made the big difference here, and again, read through this whole thing about the genomic sequencing, and it puts this whole new piece of archaeology into its place here. Oh, I'm going to see. Maybe we can get one more story out with Robert. We got like 4 minutes left. Well, I'm trying to decide, do I want resilient food or dark photons? I'll tell you what, let's just jump all the way over and look at bonding. Bonding.
All right, let's do it.
Because, chemistry is so interesting these
We
days.
can save the dark photons for next time.
Yeah, we'll save. Ooh.
All right. Chemists changed the bonds between atoms in a single molecule for the first time.
Doc, I'm going,
That's
what?
astounding. It says a team of researchers from IBM Research Europe, and IBM has been doing this atomic force microscope stuff from the very beginning, has changed the bonds between atoms in a single molecule for the first time. Their paper published in the journal Science. That's a pretty good.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Good paper.
They got the name first. Yeah.
The group describes their method and possible uses for it. Well, there's like endless possibilities.
Well, and now there is actually you can go down and click on what they're doing, but don't click on it just yet, because at first I'm thinking they could have done a better job where it says chemists changed the bond. It says you can also watch it on. So it's a schematic of the tip induced reactions. Now this is kind of the explanation of what's going on. They've got this. They're able to use by voltage pulses from the tip of a scanning probe microscope.
Okay.
This stuff's been around.
Yeah.
Different molecular transformations are triggered selectively. The color of the arrow indicates the value of voltage pulses used in the trigger. Blah, blah, So I'm not even sure. So when you click on this, before you even click on it, you can see. Well, what do we have here?
Right.
They've got this, and this, and obviously.
So you have what looks like 4 benzene rings.
Right. And now let's turn this on. Let's see if this makes sense
Okay.
to you, because so they're showing that this. I'm implying that I don't know what they're trying to say here. That this goes to this, and that makes sense, because this went up here to these 4.
Mm-hmm.
But that this one, selectively down here, this one on the left was turned into this one.
Okay.
And the color of the pulses, I think what they want you to know is that we either pushing it or
Right. Okay.
Then it shuts off and you can't
Right.
you can't go back to it. I'm like, well, that was
That was weird.
that was weird. But that's why I was saying don't click on it, because once you click on it,
It's gone.
It's gone. But if you go back up to these are
that's
actually
funny.
images of single molecules obtained by high resolution atomic force microscopy. That's just astonishing that you're actually looking at.
Yeah. And
and
so
you can-
it says that these are carbon is that carbon 1 bonds?
Yeah.
It's not carbon chlorine. That's what I thought. These definitely look like benzene rings that are attached.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But anyway, the idea that you can do that. Oh, I just see that I should have started the music already. I can't believe it.
That's all right.
But yeah, I mean, seeing that is just amazing. Again, this is probably the beginning of one of those science fiction movies where they say some things man should not be. I mean, we talk about the elegance and being able to just literally go to
Molecule 9.
from outer space.
Don't do it. Don't apply the voltage using the scanning tunneling mic. Oh, too late. Now it's over.
It's all over. Yeah. Well,
Speaking of all over,
yeah, it's all over for us. Come back next week. Enjoy some radio science news with us.